Good morning. Working on some crochet. Have you ever heard this before? Your thoughts create your reality. Like you're some kind of wizard. I hear that a lot, and it is, to a certain extent, it's absolutely true. Our perspective does change, first of all, how we interact with the reality that's before us, but then as we change our perspective and we get a better sense of clarity for challenges and why things happen, why we do things, why we get messed up by things. Certainly your thoughts are very important in how that works. But it's not so much that when you're going around and you're thinking about your daily life, you're thinking about those little things you think about. You're thinking about, oh, I hope this doesn't happen to me. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen. Oh man, that would suck if that happened. Because those are very normal thoughts throughout the day. You go through and you're like discovering the sequence of your day, or maybe something will happen and you'll be like, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen, that'll suck. And then you think, oh man, should I not be thinking about this thing that I hope doesn't happen because it will suck? I guess that's a pattern I get caught up in, is to what extent do my thoughts create my reality? And what I've learned recently is that it's not the thoughts that you are aware of that you have to worry about as much as the thoughts that you're not aware of. Because your subconscious in there is thinking thoughts constantly, all the time. And a lot of times all times they're based on, I guess I shouldn't say all, but from what I understand, most times it's based off of stories we tell ourselves, stories that are taken for granted in our system. And some of those stories are whack. Some of those stories are, not helpful. Even if they're on some level true, a lot of times these stories are not helpful, and it helps to change the subconscious story. And that's a harder task than just being like, oh, I have to fight every thought that comes in. I have to fight it. I can't think about this particular thing, or else it will create my reality that way. And that's not how it works. If your child might have cancer, not saying the word cancer isn't going to help. It's not going to change anything, because your child may or may not have cancer. But the word cancer isn't going to cause cancer unless you're a person who has maybe internalized some kind of anxiety around it and pushed it down and tried to pretend it didn't exist, and then avoided saying the C word your whole life. Maybe that would do something. But I guess my whole point is that when we refuse to talk about something, we repress it. And if you repress something, you're not making it go away, you're making it hide inside of you. So that doesn't really change your reality on the outside as much as on the inside, which of course has repercussions in the outer world. But I guess my main point here is I'm trying to express that this hypervigilance of watching your thoughts may be counterproductive. It might be sucking a lot of energy dry from you. It may be causing you to repress feelings that you would be better off dealing with and feeling and going through. Because it's not true that if you address a situation that it makes it suddenly worse. In fact, if you address a situation, a lot of times you can find solutions. And so anyway, I think that's how stories get lodged in our subconscious, is that we internalize our experiences, we internalize the things that we hear from people, and how we think they might think of us or feel about us, or based on our traumas or our past life experiences, we believe certain things about our power that aren't true. This is all very common stuff. I really think just about anybody is going to go through periods of time where they feel like they're doubting themselves, they're doubting their power. But the subconscious, you guys, that guy is doing stuff. That guy is doing stuff even when you don't realize it, especially when you don't realize it. In fact, that's the nature of the subconscious. If you don't know it's happening, it's in the subconscious. Once you recognize it happens, it's in the conscious. See how that works? Subconscious, conscious. Woo-hoo. And so making something conscious is actually probably what you want to do. If you're being trapped by some patterns that you can't seem to fix, you can't seem to get out of this habit that you're always doing, these dumb things that you can't seem to change about your life, well, I would ask that sneaky trickster, the subconscious, if that guy's not doing something to mess you up. And in my case, my subconscious loves to do things to make me laugh. Because I get a pretty big kick out of just about everything that happens in this world, if we're being honest. As long as my moods are okay. As long as I'm not feeling like a big old loser. So my subconscious likes to do things to remind me how silly I am. Because a lot of times I take myself pretty seriously, but then something inevitably will happen, and then, things are funny. God has a sense of humor, you guys. If you haven't noticed, you should probably lighten up, because things are going to get rough. But your subconscious, maybe the way that it sabotages you is different. And we like to say that we're sabotaging ourselves, but that's not exactly accurate, because if you were to go and talk to that part of yourself that is sabotaging you, they would say, well, I'm protecting you. You don't understand because you don't see everything that's going on here, and I'm protecting you from all this pain and all this embarrassment or whatever it is. So you don't even have to be mad at yourself about it. You can, you don't have to. But if you're a person who, you believe, oh, thoughts create your reality, which I do believe that. It's important to not get hung up on adding pressure and stress to your life by telling yourself you can't think about certain things. Oh, don't think about this. Oh, don't think about that. That's not how that is working. How it works is when you internalize and solidify a belief inside of you. Those are the thoughts that will create your reality. So it's not that if you say the word cancer, you're going to get cancer. It's not like Voldemort's going to show up. In fact, at the end of that movie, you saw that not saying Voldemort was actually part of the problem. So yeah, any kind of avoidance, it's going to mess you up. Sooner or later, you can't avoid things forever. Sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with whatever it is that you're avoiding. Either that or you're just going to be emotionally constipated for your whole life. And that sucks, you know? Being constipated, that's no fun. It's painful. Being emotionally constipated, you don't want that. You want them guys to flow through your system. You gotta let them out. It's actually an extremely good metaphor. What if every time you had to take a poop, you were like, I can't do it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. It's too much. I'm telling you, your body would not like that. You would have problems. Well, why do we do it with our feelings? Why do we think that not letting our feelings out is a healthy idea? Why do we think that being like, I don't need that, I'm just going to ignore it, we're not going to deal with that, it doesn't make it go away. It causes it to hide inside of your subconscious. And then your subconscious has to figure out very creative, fun ways for you to let that feeling out, for you to express that feeling. Or not express that feeling. So I don't believe that anyone should ever have any fear when it comes to addressing things, when it comes to talking about things, when it comes to words. And concepts and ideas. It's a very outdated notion that we're not allowed to, like, thinking, that's dangerous. Oh, that's dangerous. You'll get in trouble if you think too much. Anywho, I suppose that's it for this morning. I'm going to get to my crocheting. I got to do a shawl. Look at it. It's coming together kind of nice. Isn't this a great yarn? It's beautiful. Well, thanks for listening. Don't be afraid to use whatever words you want to. You just have to, be aware. You have to be somewhat mindful, but not over vigilant, not hyper vigilant about anything, really. You ought to touch everything a little bit lightly with a little bit of light fingers. I heard in the Irish language, and I always loved this, they don't say, I am sad. They don't identify with a feeling. They don't say, I am happy, I am sad. It doesn't become who they are. They say a feeling has come upon them. So if a sadness has come upon me. Or, an anger is I don't know if they say, maybe if you're mad you wouldn't say But I like the idea of that. It establishes your feelings more like weather patterns rather than shifts in who the heck you are. Because it's really inconvenient to identify yourself with every single feeling you have. Holy moly. How could, man, that's too much. But people do it, and they do it subconsciously. Because words do have power, and our thoughts do create our reality. But not the fear of our thoughts. The fear of our thoughts is not what we need to be listening to. That's not reasonable. There's no reason to be afraid of our thoughts. Sometimes our thoughts are disturbing. Sometimes they are a little scary. But in the realm of the mind, you're allowed to have scary thoughts. Think about artists and writers. They write scary stories. There's lots of people who make movies and stories and TV shows and books about horrible things, horrible fictitious things. And those people, they get it out. They get it out on paper. They don't go and, beat somebody up about it because they're mad. They don't let their feelings dictate their crummy behavior. They channel it into something useful, something nice. But they don't. What else doesn't happen is you also don't stuff it down. You don't say, "Oh, I can't look at that," because it's in you. The thoughts are there. There it is. Oh, you don't like it? Oh, too bad, because it's there. And the more you fight it, the more I can't think about pickles. Oh, don't think about pickles. Make sure you don't. Oh my God, I better not think about pickles. Well, what are you doing when you're thinking about pickles? Guess what? So that's all I'm saying in this rambling early morning video where I'm probably not caffeinated enough yet for this. But I woke up and I said, all y'all need to know about your subconscious. You need to know about words and thoughts. And you need to know that your reality is created by your mind, but not quite in the way that a lot of people like to say that it is. And having conscious thoughts does, if you have sort of an affirmation, if you say, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, that couldn't hurt, right? You're solidifying a belief in your subconscious. If you solidify that positive belief in your subconscious, then your subconscious is going to self-sabotage you into wealth, maybe, ideally. It's easier to do, perhaps, with things like, I am worthy, I am loved, I am infinite, things like that, but it works with everything. And what you're trying to do is you're not trying to convince your conscious mind that you're not a piece of shit, because your conscious mind is going to go through these cycles where sometimes you're great, sometimes you're not. So you have to be anchored in a different space. And part of that is the heart, but part of it is reprogramming the subconscious so that you're not constantly just like self-sabotaging yourself into all sorts of unpleasant things. You can let your subconscious guide you into some fun stuff that you actually want to do. All right, well, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget you can get a tarot reading if you visit my website or if you email me. The information's in the descriptee. All right, everybody, go and have a wonderful day.